I'm Liz Bull, and I'm here with our amazing historian, Virginia Means. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the history of St. Mary's. So when did the church start in Napa?
Well, surprisingly, 1858, which was really amazing to me, because to me, Napa was always that little settlement up North Bay, and I think that Episcopalians came to Napa in 1858, and they built their first church in 1860. It just still boggles my mind.
What was the nature of the community of Napa at the time?
Well, I suspect it was very small, because I came to the Bay Area in 52, and Napa was always considered to be a small community. Now, maybe it was larger than I envisioned, because it's only been more recent years that I moved here and became aware that it was around and it was part of California's history from the very beginning. But anyway, we had an Episcopal church here in 1858, which I think is really, is commendable.
So were we always called St. Mary's?
No, we were called Christ Church. And what I found in our records, and we tell ourselves that it was called Christ Church. And one of the parishioners came back in the 1800s, came to the church people and said, if you change the name to Mary after my mother, I'll give you a donation. So they changed it from Christ Church to St. Mary's. But what I found in the records, he never gave the money. Now, what really happened, I wasn't there, so I can't verify, but this is what I found in the records.
Yeah. Were we always on 3rd Street?
Oh, no. In the beginning, we were located on Randolph Street between 3rd and 4th. You know where the Presbyterian church is at one end, Methodists are over here. Mm-hmm. Across the street now is a parking lot, and that's where our church was located. So across from the Presbyterians, right across was a small building, the Christ Church, and then there was a parish hall, and then there was a house there, and I'm not clear on whether that house was always there and the parish bought it, or whether they built it. I suspect it was probably there and they bought it, but I can't, as I recall, I can't verify that.
Yeah.
And so that was there until our present place, our location was built in the early 30s, 1930s, and so it was on Randolph until in the early 1930s. I think it's profound that, as we all know, the Depression started in the 30s, and the fact that they felt confident enough to invest the money in a new building was, I really give them a lot of credit for doing that. So the altar that you see in our present place was built in Napa in 1860. And I think that's just really wonderful credit to the local people who had the skill, the wood, and the design of it. I think it's a beautiful piece of furniture, and every time I see it, I think, that has been in this little town since 1860.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is. And so I just love St. Mary's. I think it's just such a precious place because of its long history, and it's just a charming place.
Yeah. So I think I read that the original architect of the original building was a woman.
Yes. I can't remember her name now. But
I think it's Mrs. Julian Matthew, or maybe that's not how it's pronounced.
Well, I don't really remember her name. But from what I understood, it was a woman.
Yeah. I tried to research her, but came up with hard searches. It wasn't like, some of them seemed to have the right birth dates and death dates, but they weren't the right location.
Yeah.
So.
I have no idea. I don't think I ever ran across anything to identify who she was or what her background was, how she ended up being in that position. I just had no source of information for that. It's just
Yeah.
that her name was in the record, and so that's what it is.
Yeah. So I think the original organ came from another church.
That's what I understand. It was
Yeah.
from, I can't remember now the church, but it came. From what I understood, it came from another church and installed when, I guess when we built present location.
Yeah.
And then, I can't remember what year we put in the new one. I know that was,
I think it was 1989.
okay. And our policy has always been that we wouldn't buy or build anything until we have the money. So we have a fundraising process to
Yeah.
have the money to pay for
In
the
the
organ.
organ. Oh, good.
And we had a lot of input from Taylor Rule. He was our organist at the time. And he was from England, and they had just installed a beautiful organ up in the Adventist church up in England. So he was a good resource to refer us to. And I think it's a Canadian
Yeah.
company that built and installed it. And that was based really on what Taylor Rule was able to tell us, and it was based on their experience up in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in England.
Cool. So what kind of disasters have befallen the church over the years?
Well, we had a fire,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not very, and that happened in the back of the church, and it affected the altar. All I could find was that the fire was put out fast enough so it didn't damage the altars as we see it. It's always been that way. I'm not sure how the fire was caused. I thought there was maybe some reference that it might have been arson, but I don't know that for sure. At least not in my memory now.
Yeah. I think we had the earthquake a few times.
Yes, we had. That was interesting. When Jerry Dodd, who was, I think he worked for the city, came to us, I was on the vestry at the time, and he said, we really need to do something about this church because we need, and that was at the time when California was really aware of the fact that they needed to retrofit buildings. So Jerry Dodd came to us on the vestry and said, we really need to do something about retrofitting our building. So we raised the money. It was always a policy, at least as long as I was in that era. We would raise the money first before we started our project. And then lo and behold, so that was, I don't
I don't
remember.
remember. I think I looking back at my memories, I feel like maybe 94
Yes,
or 99.
I think so, yes. I think that's the time. And then lo and behold, we had an earthquake in 2014.
Yeah.
So we were glad that we just had a slight damage from what I remember. In the front of the church, there's an archway, and there was a little bit of a damage to that, which we fixed. It was really, what could have been a disaster was just a very minor damage.
Yes.
The earthquake that we had in 2014, so.
Yeah. How many rectors has St. Mary's had? Do you remember?
I have our old book here that I can look up. I don't really know.
I think I counted 12 under Christ Church and 20 under St. Mary's.
I don't know. I have the gray book.
Yeah, I think that's where I counted it from.
Yes, that's the.
Yeah.
I have that copy here, and that was 100 years up to
I think it's
1983. So,
Yeah.
and so I really can't tell you. Whatever's in that book would be good.
How many of the rectors of St. Mary's have you known?
Well, Turnbull was here when I came in 78, 79. And he was about ready to retire. He developed throat cancer, and so he had to leave earlier, I think, than he really wanted to retire.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very stressful time for him and his family. And then I was on the vestry when we hired Father Stephen Carpenter. And then whoever had been here, we had an interim for a while when Stephen retired before we hired Robin. So Stephen was here for 34 years.
Yes.
and he's still here.
Yes.
Which I think is really, I have been happy to see him and Fran stay in town. I wasn't surprised because he's a Napa boy, and he has such a good relationship with Robin, which was not the case with Turnbull. He left not a very happy person, and I think he just kind of went away, and he was not terribly kind to Stephen. But that may have been because I may have been prejudiced. I was on the best when we picked Stephen.
Yeah.
And Stephen, being a Napa boy, I knew he would stay as long as he could. So.
Yeah.
And I'm just really pleased to see he and Fran still in town and supporting Robin the way they had, because Stephen that wasn't the case when he came.
Yeah. Have any of the rectors of St. Mary's done anything significant outside of the church?
Well, Father Tom, records show that he marched in Selma with Martin Luther King. And when I first came to Napa, that had just happened fairly shortly before I came here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the parish was still talking about it. Some people supported that and some people didn't, but he did it, and I'm sure he was happy that he did.
Yeah. So when did you begin attending at St. Mary's?
When I came to Napa in 1978 or 9, which is now quite a bit of time.
Yeah. What are some of the changes you've seen over the years at St. Mary's?
Well, of course we retrofitted, and that was profound. And I think with Robin, we have expanded our sites outside of this little town. She's more of an internationalist because of her history, and so I think that Robin has been a real treasure to expand our view of the world. I think part of her coming, and I'm not saying that as a negative, but I think that we were more kind of self-contained here in Napa and California, and then we were happy here, and we really were not aware of what the rest of the world was doing. And I think the fact that we have like this present canon that we have from Africa, which I think is just, I think it's just awesome to think that we had somebody from Africa in our church and here in Napa. And I just really think Robin has made us more aware of what's going on in the rest of the world, which is really, that's what we need to do in the Christian church.
Yeah. Well, that was all the questions I had.
Oh,
So thank you.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, I think St. Mary's is really a special place. And I've just been so happy in Napa, and I think St. Mary's has had a lot to do with it, besides having my stepfamily here and all that kind of stuff. But the church has been, I think, a real treasure.
We enjoy having you as a
Well,
member, because you know so much about the history, and you've been here as long as I can remember, because you've been here my whole life.
Yes, well, you've been here all your life.
Yeah.
And I guess your family your dad was in the Navy. He was in the Navy, and is that what brought him here?
Yeah, he was stationed at Mare Island in Skaggs. So,
And I retired from Mare Island, so.
Yeah.